Hello, my name is jahg, and welcome to another not jahg plays Minecraft, but instead jahg shows you how he configures his system so he can play Minecraft using the server, the plugins, and all that good stuff that some people have been asking about. Um, so, I've got some links on the go. I'll put all these in the description so that you can actually find them again, because I'm going to have to go through this quite quickly. You can see I'm using an Apple Mac, so if you're not using an Apple Mac, this is not going to help you too much. I may do another one immediately after this to show you how it's configured for Windows, since I guess I can run that business from here, I don't know. But primarily it's just to show you my setup. So, starting off, I have absolutely no servers running. I got no server software installed. Well, that's not true. I've got this in here, but never mind. First thing is, there is on the Bukkit website, there is this page, wiki.bukkit.org, and in fact, if you start right at the wiki.bukkit.org website, down here, there is tutorial, start your own server. And it takes you to this place, and there's instructions for Windows, follow them exactly, it'll work. Instructions for Linux, follow them exactly, it'll work. Instructions for Mac, follow it exactly, and it will work. So, basically, this is what you're going to do. I will actually go ahead and install and show you this, because that's what someone wanted to see. So, to install this server, to create a server, so that you can connect to it, that's the first business. You need to create a new folder, and give it a suitable name, such as Bukkit server. That'll do. There's my folder, and it's got absolutely nothing in it. Well, that's fair enough. It will have things in it momentarily. So now that we have this folder, it says we need to download the actual server file itself. And to get this, all you need to do is return to the official Bukkit website, which is right here, bukkit.org. And along here on the right, you'll see that there's a list of builds. If you want to get it working with as little fuss as possible, you want to pick a recommended build, really, because the recommended builds are for specific versions of Minecraft that have specific requirements. So I'm running 1.1 at the moment. There isn't a recommended build, which is interesting. So rather than pick this one, you can actually choose a development build. Now if you go to this, and you see this is the file we need if we're running 1.01, we're not running 1.01. If you go to Craft Bukkit, you can see a list of all the builds. If you pick the latest build, you'll find this is for 1.1. That's the file you need, craftbukkit.something blah 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 snapshot.jar. Right? And it's the same regardless of which version you pick, so just scroll randomly, so I pick this one, and there it is, right? Just pick that particular file and it'll do its magic. Now, I am just going to get back to the latest version, if I can even find it, which I think this is it. Who knows? Right, so I'm going to pick this file. It will download. There it is, downloading. Marvelous, only 10 megs, so it's quite a small file. I'm then done with this for a minute, and I can return to the instructions for setting up my server, which are down here. Alright, so here's my folder that I created earlier. If I go to my downloads, I'll find this Craft Bukkit file in here, drag it into my folder. In a sense, job done. I could just run this. It would run the default server with minimum memory, which is bad, really. But we want to change it a little bit. I find the easiest way to get this up and running quickly is to remove all this nonsense on the end. Just call it craftbukkit.jar. Right? Job done. Because those numbers change fairly infrequently, but they do change, so it's less confusion if you just rename it. So, there's that. Now we want a way of running it that actually sets the right number of gigabytes of memory and all sorts of various other options. So to do this, we have to continue the instructions. Here we are, obtaining the startup script. Well, by obtaining, they mean creating it yourself, which is fine. So basically it says I need Notepad of some sort, so text edit on the Mac, grab this lot of nonsense here, and paste it in. So looking for text edit, there it is, paste it in. The number here is the most important number for you. It's how much memory is going to be assigned to the server when it's running. Just the server, not the client. So if you're running this on the same machine as the client is going to run, that's two separate memory intensive applications on the same machine, you don't want to assign all the memory to the server. And you don't really want to max out your memory either, 2 for this and 2 for that if you've got 4 gig. 2 gig is fine on my machine because I'm got an 8 gig setup here, so that's fine for me. But change this number if you want 4 gig, assign to it, put a 4 there. Right? In fact, why not? Actually, no, let's just stick with the default. Right? This assumes you did rename this file. Right? These file names have to match. Okay. Now I need to save this. It's got to go in the same folder as the Bukkit server. There we go. Bukkit server. Give it a sensible-ish name. Now on a Mac, this should be, I don't know, start server dot command. And it is dot command. That's what makes it a proper command we can run. If I save that, I can then close this nonsense. And there we go. So I got my little command. But of course, it's not yet something I can run on a Mac. It'll say, you don't have privileges. Bow, bow, bow. So instead, we need to make it executable. The easiest way to do this is to continue with the steps here and use a terminal and run this command. And I'll show you this. Here's terminal. It's a DOS command line, essentially equivalent of that. And it says we want the command we want is chmod mod, there we go, plus X to make it executable. And then we drag this file into that window. And it puts the full path. You could type the full path to it, but it's kind of tedious. Press enter on this. I can then quit my terminal here. And I should be able to run this immediately. Now, the first time this runs, as you can see, there's going to be some errors. Right? Failed to load, failed to load. That's because these files are generated by the server the first time it runs. So if I just stretch this out a bit, there we go. It's talking about the op list and the ban list and various other things. It's now creating a level called world, which is the default name for the world. You can see the random seed it's generated. Level 0 is the normal world, level 1 is the nether, level 2 is the end. And it generates very little of that. And it's done. My server is up and running at this point. Right? So basically, I'm just going to make this a bit smaller. You can see, gosh, working in this resolution is ridiculous, but just for the sake of clarity, that's why I did it. So here are the folders containing the actual world, and if for some reason it gets corrupted, you can stop the server and then delete these, and it regenerates them with a random seed. There's the plugins folder we're going to need later. There's the ops.txt file, which is currently empty. Talking of which, here's the server. Do not close this window whilst this your server is expected to run. You can op yourself there. Now you're available. You have all the commands available to you in game as well as through here. Okay. So what's next? Well, next we need to test whether this works or not. If you are the only person connecting to this server, which I am for the moment for mine, although I've already configured it for additional people joining me this week. Here's Minecraft. Apparently it has that many lines of code. Who knew? I should be able to go to multiplayer and add a new server. That'll do. And type in just local host. One word, no spaces. Click done. If you scroll to the bottom of your list, there it is, and it's available. Good. Well, so we have 0 of 20 people connected by default, and I should just be able to click it, join the server, excuse any lag we might get because I'm recording. Whoa, there we go. And there we are. We've spawned in a world. It's all new and jolly good, and I can do things. Look, I'm doing things. Marvelous. Haha, destruction. So, okay, the server works because I'm connected. So I've got all the access to the list of people who are online. I can press T for the text window and so on. And I can do crazy things. No, like typing badly. I can't type. Time set 1300. Ooh, darkness. Anyway, let's disconnect so I don't get exploded. So far it works. And you can connect to your server. Excellent. We'll deal with plugins in a minute. You can see from the console window that it shows you all the commands that were run and various other whatnots. The next part is if you want other people to connect to your server, which of course you do. So that's what we're going to do next. Now, I'm going to leave all of that running. This is probably going to get very laggy. Never mind. We're basically done with this page. I've started the server. We can see it all running. That's marvelous. I'm going to close this. And instead, I'm going to open a new one. Now, on an Apple Mac, you need, well, indeed, on any machine, if you want other people to connect to your computer, to your server running on your machine, then you're going to need to configure your router to allow it. Now, there are ways that you can do this with a browser. I'll just bring this back. For instance, not sure, 192.168.1 that. Most of the, there we go, that's my router, which is lovely. Most routers you have like a web page you can type in, it gets you to the router and you can configure various settings from there. And I am not logged in, so it won't let me do it, but it's kind of confusing to do it through this interface. So what you want is an application to do it for you, to configure it to allow people to connect to your computer, not to your router. Now to do this, I'm going to close that, and I have a link here for Mac, basically. Now the easiest way to configure this for an Apple Mac is to go to this website, which is Avast ye old sea dogs. And there's a monkey. Anyway, codingmonkeys.de/portmap. Again, this will be in the description. If you Google, or other search engines exist, if you Google Portmap Mac, it comes up with this particular item. Click this to download the wonderful little application that's going to configure all these settings for you. Right? If we click it, it downloads a zip file, and there's my zip file. I should be able to double click it. There we go, and it gives me this, portmap.app. Now you can put this anywhere. I generally, click randomly. I generally put this file in the same place as my server. If it's all in the same place, it's just easier to find that way, basically. So I'm going to drag and drop this into here, anywhere, into my folder. I can close my downloads, and I'm going to run this. Now, first time, yes, I want to run it. Thank you very much. And at this point, you're going to see my current external IP address. Don't bother typing it in now. It will not work. Here's the external IP address. You're going to need this to give to, or your, whatever your one is, to give to your friends and so on, so they can connect to your machine. Unless you've hooked this up to an IP address and so on. But if you're getting that detailed, you probably don't need me to show you how to do that. Now, Portmap on its own does nothing. You have to tell it what to do. Now, for people to connect to Minecraft on your computer, you need to add a mapping between a port on your router and a port on your computer. Oh, that rhymed. Anyway, Minecraft uses a very specific default port, 25565, right? And if you want to use that, that's fine, right? It means that other people don't need to actually type this nonsense in. Select both TCP and UDP, just to give maximum network connectivity, and give it some sort of description, so Minecraft. And that can be anything. You don't need to change anything other than those settings. I can click Add Mapping. It will currently be unmapped. And now it's mapped correctly. This light indicates that it's on, and at the moment, people can now connect to my server. How do they do that? Well, they go to their server list, they add a server, I don't know, Microsoft Server 2, and they type in that particular IP address, blah, 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 47, and so on. They click Done, they connect. Job done. Right? I'm going to cancel this because I don't need to connect to myself. Right? Now, okay, so other people can connect to your Minecraft server. It's a Bukkit server, so it allows plugins, but there are no plugins by default. So we're going to need to fix that. Now I'm going to close Portmap because I don't actually need it for this demonstration. It will go away of its own accord in a moment. There we are. Lovely. I'm going to close that as well. Server's still running. I didn't stop it. That's fine. You don't even need to stop it for most plugins. In fact, I am going to stop it. To stop your server successfully, just type stop, and it will save chunks and so on. Just closing this window doesn't always save everything immediately or correctly, so that's why you type stop. I can close that, and now my server is offline. Okay, okay, so I need plugins. Here's the plugins folder. Absolutely nothing. Where can I get these plugins? Well, the plugins I use, if I just scroll to this, if you go to a particular website, which is plugins.bukkit.org, which if you're at the main Bukkit website, it's this link here, Get Plugins. It takes you to the right place. If you know what you're looking for, just type it in. So let me just maximize this a little bit more so you can see it. So for instance, I'm using MCMMO to give me the skills, and you can type that in. Here it is. And you can then read a bit of information about it. There's more information on their Bukkit dev page. Go to downloads. In this particular case, They're all slightly different, but there's the particular version I'm using, and you can download this file. They're all .jar files, I believe. So now I just need to put that into this plugins folder. So where are my downloads? Here they are. There is MCMMO. Drag it in. Job done. Just need to start the server. The other one I'm using, I'll just do both at the same time. Why not? I actually don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore. Is it crashed? No, there we go. The other one I'm using, which I used just in episode 30, was one to do with recipes. So I typed recipe in here, and the one was Recipe Manager. There it is. It allows you to add new recipes to things. So I'm just going to double click this, or click it once rather, to download it. I want to download this, so I've got to go to the Bukkit dev page. There's the download, boink. And apparently I need to click it again, boink, there it is. So now it's recipemanager.jar. Oh, I'm just clicking randomly now, let's not go there. I need my plugins folder, which is here. And basically I'm going to drag this recipemanager.jar into the plugins, boink. There we go. So now I've got two plugins. You can just add as many as you want, but just make sure you read all the gubbins about them to make sure they are what you want. So I'm going to close all of this nonsense, if it lets me, which for some reason it doesn't. There we are. I don't think it likes being this small resolution for this recording. I'm going to close that. So now I've got these two plugins in here. I want to make use of them. Now, most of the plugins have configuration files, which are created automatically when you run your server. So let me do that now. If I run the server, this time it will... oops, came up with an error there, but never mind that. There we go, it's still running. So there's all the business about creating the world and opening it. Now it's the information about Recipe Manager, and there's MCMO, and it says it's enabled, and this is enabled. Don't worry about warnings, they're fine. So, okay, at this point, I should be able to actually use these plugins. If we go in here, you can see it's created some folders, and these are not specific to Mac, it's just, this is how it works. There's the jar file for the plugin, and there's a folder full of configuration stuff. These are just text files. We can open them in whatever we want. So, for instance, MCMMO doesn't really need any configuration. I'll add a random recipe. Why not? Now, as far as I'm aware, one of the recipes I added was a shaped recipe. I'm just going to quickly do this. Ding, 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 ding. Actually, I won't need that. There we go. And you basically put in whatever you want to make. I don't know. Let's say I want a recipe of, this is a crazy recipe, that we fill the crafting square with torches and it gives us a stack. That is totally inappropriate recipe. But there we go. And it gives us a stack of them. So it's 50 is the number for a torch. It has no extra data. That's like damage values. If you want wool, you put like 35 1, 35 2, 35 3, and so on for the different colours. And I want 64. There we go. I've just added a random recipe to this file. If I save it and then close it, all I need to do to actually enable those is anytime you change a configuration file for your server, if you don't want to stop and start the server, just do reload, and it will reload the file, and you can see somewhere, there we go, Recipe Manager loaded one shaped recipe. So already it detected my business that I did, and I can make use of it. Let's test this just to make sure my plugins are working. There's my local host, join it. Oh my goodness, is it dead of night? Yes, it's the dead of night. Fine, let's just set that to something a bit more reasonable. Good morning. And just because I want to not explode, I don't see any creepers, but, well, let's just go with it. Why not? So I'm in the vanilla here, so I have no, can't fly or anything, but I can, of course, give myself stuff. So give me 50. I only need 9. There we are. And I need a workbench. I don't know if I can type the word workbench. Give me workbench. Good grief, yes. Hacks, I know. Boink! And I should be able to pop this in here. Oh. Oh dear. Oh, I know how to play this game. I think I've done this before. There we are. And it gives us, and you can see that it's working already. The configuration I did over here shows up in here, and I can make use of this, right? Now, it's not a very sensible recipe, but there we go. The ones I used are obviously to make the ore blocks for Playing with Mars challenge. to get all the wool blocks and whatnot. But we can see the plugins are working if I dig stuff. Is that going to help me? Actually, no. Let's just give myself one of those. There we are. And I can dig stuff. And eventually, come on, MCMO, tell me I'm winning. Come on. Did I forget to enable it? I don't know. Don't know. Probably not. Let's just do stats. No, there it goes. Excavation, there we are. I see it is working because I got more than 0 there. So, oh dear, there, yay! So these are working perfectly. All right. I can start a server. I can install plugins with it, and other people can connect. Basically, that's the job done. Other things that I use as part of my JPM series. What do I want to do here? I want to quit that. A recording application, and the recording application I use is this one that's currently running up here. iShowU HD Pro. It's an amazing program for what it does. It's available from shinywhitebox.com. It's relatively cheap, and it records anything you like on the screen. You can pick up a specific window, you can export it to different formats. It even uploads to YouTube automatically if you want it to do that. So that's that. It also records the audio, picking up from my headset, and the audio from in-game stuff. So it's a pretty useful application. I'm not sure there's anything else I use. Yes, there is. There's one more thing, which is I use this because I usually run. My screen is a Thunderbolt display, so it's 2,000 something pixels wide by 1,000 something pixels high. I don't know. So it's a large resolution. I need Minecraft to be in a specific size to run, which is to get 720p. So I need it 1280 by 720 basically. And this application allows me to resize a window to exact sizes, which is really useful, so that if I don't know, let's run a random window, I can press some keys and you can see it gives me the actual sizes, and that's so useful to me. Right? So I think those two applications are the only ones I really use. That's my setup. I will probably do a quick how-to to get this Bukkit server business running on Windows. It's very, very similar. You just create a batch file instead of doing all of that business that you did to create this. Is that going? No. Go away. Go away. There we go. To create this command file, you just create a batch file in Notepad, save it, and it runs immediately. So I believe that's me done. Thank you very much for watching, if indeed you have been, and goodbye.